This episode of the Gear Podcast is brought to you by Soldano and the new Astro 20.
Theme song for the Gear Podcast. Uncle Leon, I've been waiting weeks to sing that to you. How are you feeling, buddy?
Mate, how you been?
Oh, it's been a week. Long story short, I got robbed, so that's not good. You know that.
We're not even talking about the West Coast Eagles losing either. We're talking about criminal behavior in your household.
Yeah, people snuck into my house at night, took my wallet, took my partner's wallet and her keys. So that was pretty not great. But they didn't take my guitars, mate. The guitars were right like centimeters away, and my pedal board, my laptop, all that stuff survived. Just the rest of it. So, you know what? Not a great way to start the week. But we move on, and we just look forward to next week, mate. Next week performance against the Crows on Friday night.
Currently, your back is to the wall, but you have faith in the boys that you can trust the process and see it through.
Yeah, so that's what's news with me, mate. But I've just been ticking along. It's been a couple of weeks since we've done one of these, so apologies to all the friends and family out there that have missed Leon and I talking to each other. How have you been, mate? So you're back from NZ.
Back for the attack. Don Dokken style. Mm-hmm. Got back Monday. We're recording this on a Wednesday, so yeah, got back about 48 hours ago. And what can I tell you, mate? Australia it's very bright. There's a lot of sunshine here, mm-hmm. and things aren't very green in Perth at the moment. They're the main differences. But other than that, I'm actually feeling really good.
Man, I told you, I went to the zoo this morning, and it was very green and beautiful there. Yeah. Lovely. It's hot today, though,
Perth
man.
Zoo's awesome.
What is it, like 30 degrees or something? It feels like it's 30
Pushing
degree
it,
day.
yeah.
34
Celsius.
Today. It's 34. Oof. We might not get another 34 day for months, mate. So we got to enjoy it.
Yeah. I reckon it's going to be a year where I swim in the ocean in April.
Nice. Must be nice.
That's the type of year.
It
must be good for some, Troy.
I think I went to the beach once over summer in December. So that was the last time I went to the beach. But anyway, that's all right. Hey, Uncle Leon, I got a couple of things to ask you. One, amazing. Two, what you got there? What you holding?
Well, I have a question before you do that. And the question is, do you lick it a g'day? And from there, look, I bought another guitar because that's just a thing that I do.
Yep.
This was a Gumtree special from Queensland, mate. I was sitting in my hotel room in New Zealand, which I should backtrack and say I took my Rubato carbon fiber Lassie, basically played everything except for 2 or 3 songs on it. Mm-hmm. I broke a string during one of the shows, the 8th gig on that set of strings. So that was understandable.
Yep.
But through Electric Factory here in Australia, who distribute PRS, they got me in touch with the PRS distro in New Zealand, which isn't the same as Australia. I had a pretty interesting chat to some people running a guitar store there about the whole distro thing in New Zealand, but that might actually be worth talking to that person about on a future episode. And anyway, so they lent me a used 2021 PRS CE24. People would have seen it on my Instagram and my vlogs. So, kind of like a flame top thing. And I quite liked it. So I just was looking around on Gumtree in Australia for used CE24s. And this one popped up, but it's a standard. So it's all mahogany. Mm-hmm. People may remember PRS. I think they've made the standard on and off, but it was a custom 24 without the maple top. It was just all mahogany.
Yep.
And they did this in 2016. They did a limited run. Standard CE, but it's a satin finish. It's like the most un-PRS, yeah. Right? Satin finish. It feels great. Neck feels great on it. The neck's it's the pattern thin, I believe. Okay. So it's a thinner, I don't want to say Ibanez-like neck, but right, Ibanez-like neck. Definitely less chunky than the McCarty or probably not as thin as an Ibanez, but compared to like a McCarty or the SE DGT, 8515 pickups. It's like the frets barely look used, so I think someone's bought it and just kind of hung on to it. But it's an awesome guitar. I really like these pickups, the 8515s. They're unlike because what did they have in customs? The vintage bass and the HFS. Yeah. They were okay.
I didn't mind those.
Fine.
I've got a set of yours that I pulled out
That's
of.
Right.
No, well, you lent them to me and I put them in my Les Paul when I first got it because the Les Paul I had didn't have a bridge pickup that worked. And then,
yep.
Yeah. So are they the pickups that are in your single cut?
No, so the single cut, my single cut's a 2008 SC245. It has the 245 pickups,
Right.
which are the covered versions of the mirror pickups. I really like the mirror pickups as well.
Right.
So those guitars actually sound quite similar, and which, would surprise no one because the pickups are basically identical, and there is a lot of crossover in the materials and construction. But yeah, so they're the 245s. They're not the 5708s, which I think a lot of people assume they are, which are more of a straight up PAF thing. And yeah, but this is like more definitely, it's just like hotter. Yeah, it's not super modern sounding or anything like that. The split sounds are really good on it. I did a video with the Axe Effects yesterday, used it for a bit. So yeah, it's the neck's really, it's interesting because it's like a proper satin finish body, but the neck is like it's definitely lacquered. It's not quite. I think it's, it'd be interesting if it was oiled, but it's
Paul,
not
you
super
dog.
shiny. Yeah, you've dogged the boys, but it kind of feels like satin that's been polished up.
Okay.
Like,
So
does your
it's-
Cole Clark have that where your arm touches it?
Yeah, my Michael Clark is just like, it's shiny. It's buffed from all of the intense.
Yep.
This action.
Yep.
Years of it.
Or where the arm goes and then where your leg
Oh
goes.
yeah, both of them. Yep. Yeah, bit of this one.
That thing's
Bit of this
Mad
one,
Max the
you know.
Road Warrior. Exactly,
Oh,
mate.
just
Exactly.
quickly, shorts today. You got shorts on?
No, I'm jeaned up,
Oh
dude.
my god,
Yeah.
mate! I got to see those sweet knees.
Exactly.
Next time.
The sensual knees. But yeah, anyway, got this for a great price. Pretty
Sweet.
happy with it because
So-
I've wanted a standard for a long time and I'm into the CE thing. I blame you, the other John Brown,
Yep.
for getting me into this. And
Dog and the boys. So Uncle Leon, let's go
Nice and
back.
loud.
DGT
Yes.
SE. Where's that?
yes.
CE 24,
Yes, I've got a CE24 that's being refretted by Tim.
and
At the
then this
moment.
one.
And then this one.
that's
That's 4 in a year.
When
So
did you
much
get
for
the
not buying
DG2?
new
That was
stuff.
mid last year, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, cool.
I think so.
So can you rank them? Like,
Oh, the DGT is the best guitar I own. So just
okay.
straight to 0 on the list.
So that's the Harley Reid.
That's the Harley Reid. Exactly. Speaking of which.
who's your Colby
West
McCutcheon?
Coast should have traded pick 1.
No, Harley Reid's sick, man. Like, I think.
Go and get in the bin, Damien Barrett.
Yep. Sam Edmund. Is it Sam Edmund? No, Sam McClure.
Oh,
sorry.
McClure.
Sam McClure. I mean, yeah. Go on. So who's Colby McCutcheon? Number 2.
Ooh, number two. Look, I'm waiting to get the CE24 back.
Okay.
Because Tim's doing a stainless refretter on it. I think that might be number 2. The SE DGT and this are kind of neck and neck.
Which is good.
The SE DGT is amazing, man.
And that's like what, $1,500 guitar versus a $4,000 guitar, probably.
Yeah, basically.
So yeah, good on you. Good on you, Paul. You
Hey.
you got one
Hey.
back. You dogged the
it's
boys
t-
with the satin neck, but you're back.
And look, I'm going to throw this out to the audience. Do people prefer the birds or the dots? I know PRS call them moons, but they're dots. On a guitar like this, I would prefer the dots.
Yeah, I'd probably prefer the dots as well. I don't know if I don't hate the birds. I think my SE's
I don't
just
get the
got dots on it.
hatred for them either. People are like, oh, yuck. But,
Look, I think for me, there's a gaudiness about guitars. There's a level of it that I really enjoy and a level that I really don't enjoy. So for me, like rhinestones, amazing. But whenever like gold, I don't like gold. I don't like gold hardware. To me, that feels a bit
right.
It doesn't do it for me. And like really, like flashy binding and stuff. And like you see those Schecter guitars, where they look really like OTT with some of the features. Like it's like okay,
when you're in high school.
Yeah, go on.
And there were those shops aimed at teenage girls that sold them that like crap jewelry.
Yeah.
And they're still there. They're in like every shopping mall. That's the vibe I get from those Schecters.
Yeah. And it's like even the Cole Clarks, like the acoustics, the Fat Lady 2 and the Fat Lady 3, they're both great guitars, but the Fat Lady 3 just like, it just has too much going on. Like it's not necessary. Just like give me a guitar.
It's Botox. Like,
it's Botox.
It's Botoxed.
Which,
it's a bit like
nothing wrong with that
If you want to do that to your face.
Yeah. Mate, you and I, we get touched up every now and again. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta get the Botox, in the balls so that they look nice and big.
Nice and smooth. That's
Nice and smooth.
That's a Dave Chappelle thing,
Someone was telling me that theirs isn't smooth, and I was like, "What's your problem, bro?"
Nice,
man.
So anyway, I think that's. Let's get on to topic because
what have you got? What have you got that's new?
Oh well,
because there's always things.
You know what? I'll show you. I'll show you one thing.
Yeah,
I sort of mentioned.
I would love to see.
Oh, I can lift it up for you, mate. Hey, just 2 seconds.
And this is why people should watch the video podcast on YouTube.
Here you go.
Hit like and subscribe. Oh, look at that. That's
I've got.
That's a cute little thing.
So I have.
What do you got mounted in them?
Well, I bought them off Facebook a few days ago. I've been communicating with the guy for a few weeks, but I just haven't. He's like south, and I haven't had the time to go. But they're two 1x12s. One's a closed back, one's an open back. They're sort of like DIY jobs. I think his mate put the cabs together. They look like pine. They're not like fancy construction, but they're fine. They seem reasonably solid. But one has they're both 8 ohm cabs. One's got a H30 70th anniversary in it.
Oh, nice.
One has a warehouse retro 30 in it. So.
Oh yeah. So I'm keen to know your thoughts on the warehouse.
Yeah. Well, I had a veteran 30 years ago. I didn't really use it very much. So,
right.
And the other JB, Tojd, as we like to talk about him, and we've mentioned this second time to talk about him today. So, go watch John's videos on YouTube because he is the bomb. Yeah. And also slight sideways shout out to Head First and Monomyth, Jason and Shay for that club secret because that amp sounded fucking awesome, and I was this close. Yeah. Had some people paid an invoice. I may have hit Jason up about the ones in Australia, but I really like those amps. Anyway. We got plenty of other friends of the family to say g'day to, but with these cabs and the Retro 30, John Brown did a video about the Retro 30 maybe 6 months ago or less.
Yep.
And I definitely preferred the Veteran 30. For the price I got this cab for, I thought it was worth rolling the dice again. And I plugged it in yesterday, and I actually really like the way it sounds. So that's pretty cool. And I was playing it with the IRX into the orange power amp as well, the orange pedal baby.
Yeah, tell me how you were digging that.
You know what? The orange is a funny one, man. When I first tried it, when it first arrived and I first had a chance to give it a shot, I didn't really dig it. But it's a very convenient form factor of a power amp to use because it's reasonably light, reasonably small. It's a Class AB power amp. So, yeah, it has this plastickiness to it. And I didn't really enjoy that. And that was running it through I think I was actually running it through an orange cab at the time, the orange 2x12, and I was using the Sin 1 into the front of it with like the deliverance module, and maybe I swapped modules, I can't remember. But yeah, I just didn't really get a vibe out of it that I was that into.
Interesting.
But I was playing it again yesterday. I think volume really, like there's a point when it does kind of sound a little bit better. It may be imagination. I can't really tell. But with the IRX, I actually got a sound out of it that I really liked. And the IRX, the more I've used it, the more I've liked it as well.
Yeah.
And I did a session about 2 or 3 weeks ago where that was we just used that for the guide guitar sounds.
Oh, cool.
And the guy was playing a Les Paul, and like he couldn't believe how good it sounded. And the form factor and stuff, it was pretty wicked, man. So
I really liked it running it into the Synergy power amp and a cab. That was pretty awesome. That's if you could, you could easily run that a 1x12 and have it all on a pedal board, and that would be a great rig.
Well, I think I'm going to take the IRX to the stadium on Friday night for the next Dockers game. I've already hit them to it. The only thing is it doesn't have effects on it, obviously. It's just, So I've already hipped them to the fact that I might need them to put a bit of delay and reverb on it, which I'm sure that's
just a bit of sauce.
A bit of sauce. So that's really cool. But yeah, I got those cabinets. The G12, so the two cabs, they look the same, but one's open back. The open back one's got the G12H 70th anniversary in it, which they're very different sounding cabs. Like in general, I'm not sure if that's because of the open back or not, but certainly for cleaner stuff, I prefer the open back. The retro, it's a little bit brighter and more direct sounding, had a bit more chugga to it. So I'm mostly bought the cabs for the speakers, not to have the cabs themselves. So We'll see. We'll see what it kind of ends up happening with them. I might move the speakers into like a 212 or something.
Have you seen Tojba's latest video with the...
Say it.
The other John Brown.
No, not that. Say the speaker.
John Brown.
Say the speaker brand.
The Fane, produced by Fane, but it's Reclaim Audio.
That's what I wanted you to say, yeah.
Yeah. Daniel's a rad dude. I've demoed a bunch of his pedals, and I really want to try one of these speakers, and I'd love to get Daniel on the show as well.
Yeah,
super
dirt pedal he had
super
was
rad,
sick, man. I borrowed it for a little bit. What was it called? Anyway, cool graphics on it, but it had like two buttons on it. It was a distortion pedal. I thought that sounded really great.
The Gehenna?
Maybe, yeah. I'm a bit fuzzy on the names.
By the way, the other John Brown has made IRs of the Reclaim speaker in there, which are available for free. You go to their website. It's awesome. Have you seen the amp they're making as well?
I saw a picture of it, but I didn't go any further.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The Prometheus. It looks pretty rad.
Yeah.
Again, hopefully I'll get to try one at some point. I have spoken to Dan about it, but
sweet.
I think they're just doing the custom orders and things like that at the moment. So
yeah.
It's pretty inspiring to see someone go, he's like, some of the pedals he makes are fantastic, great artwork, great prices, some original designs, and then getting into the amp and speaker thing, which I think is pretty amazing. So yeah, more power to Daniel. That's awesome.
Yep.
Anyway, John's video is good.
Yeah,
good sounding speaker.
This Retro 30 is cool so far. I'd like to maybe if I could find a Veteran 30 for a reasonable price, and B, something locally, then I'll probably grab it. I'd like to try. I'd like to hear it in this Marshall 212 that I have, like the whatever the Studio Classic or Vintage or whatever cab that I've got. That'd be kind of cool. But aside from that, well, two things. The second will lead into something that we'll talk about in a little bit greater detail. But I have another new mic. This is probably the 5th different mic I've used for these podcasts. This is a Mojave.
Look at that. I like the stand.
Yeah, I found one on Gumtree, like around the corner for like $50. So I picked it up the other day. And on this new IKEA desk, I can put the stand in a place that's convenient. So,
isn't it good?
It's so much better. So anyway, I got this. My friend Peter, who has a studio next to mine, has this Mojave 201 FET, MA201 FET condenser mic. So I just thought, let's try that for something a little bit different, because I've been doing a few sessions recently where I need to do a little bit of these ones.
Yeah.
Or a little bit of tambourine or a little bit of acoustic or some claps. So it's actually convenient to have a mic that I can pull over and record with that isn't... I was just using an M88 before for this stuff. So that's kind of convenient. So that's been nice. And then, mate, let me tell you a little story.
Tell me a little story.
A couple of weeks ago, I went to Optus Stadium here in Perth, Western Australia, and I played on top of Optus Stadium. I think we all know that by now. Not trying to toot my own horn, just a fact of life.
Mate, toot your own horn. It's a great thing.
I played my new to me Explorer for the first time. Got to use that for the gig, which is awesome because I bought the guitar pretty much to use at this gig.
Yep.
And it looked amazing. And I had more comments about the guitar over the preceding 24 hours than I have of probably any other guitar I've played there. So that was great. Big tick.
Gibson Australia, are you listening to Troy?
Yeah, give me a purple one, Gibson Australia. So anyway, what I used for the game was my AX8, as I've used for the last few years, with my JCM 800 modified patch that I did in there according to some video that you did years ago about settings you can tweak. And I got it. I'm really happy with this tone. It's one of my favorite tones to play ever. I just love it. And it works with every guitar. So pre-game, I hadn't plugged the Explorer into the AX8 until I was on top of the stadium and listening to stuff in the in-ears. And boy, is the output on that guitar intense.
Really?
Yeah, and I've sort of clocked that I didn't love the way it sounded through some of the other amps. It's just I don't know. It might be a silly way of describing it, but it's a little slow. Whereas I get more immediacy from, it might be because it's a mahogany body, or it might be because of the shape. I don't know.
Yeah, interesting.
it just felt like it didn't give me the like real tight immediacy that I was hoping for, like a little darker sounding, but still quite hot. So like, you know, a friend of the channel, Michael Torin, sent that JJ Dirt preamp, which I'm looking at, it's over there. And I loved the way that sounded in the Synergy rig. But then when I was using the Charvel, but with this one, I didn't quite like it as much. With the Les Paul, it sounds great. With the Explorer, I don't like it as much. So anyway, the common denominator is the Explorer. So it just got me thinking about replacing the pickups in it because, and particularly after I'd done the gig, I managed to tweak the thing. Like, it's not the end of the world. I got a sound that I was happy with, turn the gain down a little bit, readjust some EQ controls, and it was all fine. But it's the only time I've used one of these guitars into that AX8 and I haven't really been super into the tone the first time, and it was really saturated, like in a not super duper pleasant sort of a way. So I thought, let's just change the pickups, and I knew that I was thinking about like, what am I going to put in this thing, and I'm like, I have a Duncan Custom somewhere in my house, so I'll chuck that in there, no worries. Cannot find it anywhere. It has disappeared completely. But I managed to find another one. After a few days of looking around, I found one in Melbourne that's being sent over at the moment. So I've got that to put in there. And then I also bought this guy right here, which is a Duncan Jazz.
Nice. Basically the best neck pickup ever.
I have never, ever used a Duncan Jazz in a guitar before, Leon. Or at least to my knowledge. So, do you want to talk about...
It's a great pickup. I think the Jazz is way better than the JB. The JB is a classic pickup, but it's a bit like... I don't know how to... Are people just over the JB?
Look,
but the Jazz in the neck it works every time. I've got it in my Custom 24 and my, funnily enough, Troy, in my Hamer Standard.
Oh,
and
there you go.
That's got to be one of the best sounding neck humbuckers in that guitar. It's just great. It's such a shame it's called the Jazz.
I know. I almost can't bring myself to do it. So the thing is, like, I guess like over the years when I was, all I wanted to do was be Paul Gilbert. And play 80 shred
makes two
music.
of us.
Damasio was the only pickup manufacturer that existed as far as I was aware.
Yep.
I actually did have a JB that I bought and put in an RG 550, I think it was, or 570. I didn't really like it that much at the time. But yeah, man, like Damasio was kind of the thing. And then just over the last couple of years, I've been getting a bit more into a Duncan sort of thing. Like if I do want to find pickups for a guitar, I tend to lean towards that. And I've been through, I think like pickups for me are too difficult to change. They're not that difficult. Like I can operate a soldering iron and I love soldering cables, but I just cannot be fucked. Of all the things to do with a soldering iron, soldering pickups is my least favorite one. And you know what it comes down to is that the first time I tried to do it in a guitar was an absolute disaster. Like I burnt the guitar because I dropped the soldering iron in there. And it was just, it was not pleasant. So I've got that in my brain as something that I never wanted to touch.
First time, mate, I've never not done that with a guitar.
Well, it's just like, they're not hard to change. Like if you've got enough time and you've just set your soldering up and you get a bloody soldering iron stand, which I probably didn't have at the time. I seem to remember leaning it against a plate or something. So
that's something that changed my life as well.
Yeah.
That is good advice, kids. So listen to Uncle Troy.
Listen to Uncle Troy. So anyway, I've had a lot of different varieties of things. Like I've got some bare knuckle pickups in my Les Paul.
That sounds really good.
I've had some lace sensor pickups in various Strats and whatnot. But I kind of have this thing at the moment where it's like, if I'm going to put pickups in a guitar, I'm just probably going to start with some Duncans because they just seem like... I'm sure this is an imagined thing. It's just like a very good, like neutral, middle of the road place to start with aftermarket pickups. Does that sound fair to you?
Well, before we go on to that, actually, yes, I agree. I think they're kind of like, you want a rock guitar sound, you plug into a Marshall, and then you figure out if you want a metal guitar sound, you plug into a 5150, and then you figure out if that's what you want or not. You want a clean sound, you plug into like a Fender Deluxe, you figure out if that's the vibe. And look, it will either work immediately, well done, you can get on with your life, or it won't, and you need to explore some alternatives. So yeah, the Duncan stuff. Look, here's the thing. What would you recommend to, say a 15-year-old kid is like, I want to change the pickups in my guitar. Let's say it's a Les Paul style guitar. What Seymour Duncans should I put in? What would your recommendation be for neck and bridge?
Well, it kind of feels like a custom 59 like set would probably not be too bad of an idea. It feels like a Jazz JB set. Like they seem to be the two like areas that you go down with Duncan's, right? Like there's more pickups, there's way more pickups than that. But that accounts
To me,
for
the
SH1
Jazz
to
JB
5, right? Anyway, go on.
To me, the Jazz to JB is like almost too stock.
Right.
You know, you're so used to that sound. And I might imagine that it's because so many like OEM pickups are kind of voiced to be like them. The Jazz in the neck is awesome. Like I'm there. I don't think you really need to overthink it too much. And then custom 5. You know,
I haven't
custom.
I haven't tried the custom 5 and the custom customs and stuff. They haven't been readily
You
available.
have tried a custom 5 because I have one in my blue custom 24.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
That's the bridge pickup. That's a great pickup.
Yep.
I definitely enjoy that one. But yeah, all like the 59 custom, as you said, I think that's a really good combo.
So here's the thing, like, you know, you say that they sound really stock, and I kind of agree with you, but I think that's what makes them so powerful because it's like, you know, I was talking about
your pickups don't sound like that. Maybe you want to get them closer to that. So just use one of these.
There's just so many variables in a guitar. You know, if it's the pick or the strings, like without going through the whole list, but it's like everything you can change, it will have a slight difference. So the pickups to me are the thing that, like, as I said, they're like the hardest, they're not hard, probably the most frustrating to change for me. And it takes the longest. I can't just be like, well, I don't like the way this sounds. Just let me take the guitar for 15 minutes and go take all the strings off us and put new pickups in and play it again and see what it sounds like. So, you know, they're not as easy to swap out if you want to manipulate your tone. Whereas you can do that with a pedal, or you can do that with a set of strings or a pick or something like that, or just change guitars. You know,
exactly. Like us.
Yeah. So I feel like the JB Jazz or something in that vicinity is like such a powerful starting point, and as a like foundation for just setting a tone, like that's probably pretty good. Like the bare knuckles are great. I've got which ones have I got? The Cold Sweats in my Les Paul.
Cold Sweats, yeah.
Which sound really great. I love the way that guitar sounds. I had a black dog in that bare knuckle black dog in that guitar before these ones. And that sounded really good. It was much lower output.
This episode of the Gear Podcast is brought to you by Soldano and the new Astro 20. The Astro 20 is a 3-channel, 4-galaxy, assembled in USA head that combines authentic all-tube tone with features ideal for today's modern guitarist. Mike Soldano designed this sonic powerhouse to be a fully featured, versatile 20-watt amplifier. The Astro 20 can also be used as a standalone cabless amplifier, ideal for live sound, rehearsal and studio recording sessions, thanks to the DSP-powered IR cabinet simulation. Let's hear it. The simple front panel design of the Astro 20 lets you save any combination of the channels, galaxies, and IRs, and quickly recall them with the included 4-button MIDI foot switch. To learn more, check out Soldano.com or chat to your local dealer so you can try one now. Thanks again to Soldano for sponsoring this episode of the Gear Podcast. Let's get back to it. Do you want something markedly different from what you've got? Because I think really, if you want to change your pickups, then you probably want to go from one extreme to the other. Like your guitar's way too hot or way too dark and saturated, and maybe you want something a bit more open and chimey instead, like you prefer those things, then that's a great excuse to do it. But going like, yeah, I've got like the bare knuckle, you know, Omega Sweat Powerade version, but I think I want the Powerade 2C. You know what I mean? Where it's like, it's subtly different. It's like, just twist some knobs in your rig, bro. Like you can probably get around that issue. But, you know, obviously, like, you know, a pickup's basically a second order filter, right? Has a little resonant peak, cuts some high end out, relatively flat-ish kind of thing. So changing where that resonant peak is really important. That's going to massively change the tone. And then obviously the amount of output is another thing in there. I would highly recommend, there's a company called Cycfi, so CYCFI. They do the little pickup modules, and I've got one of their new 6 pickups in a guitar, so you can do the, like, you know, multi-string output thing. But they have a whole section on their blog talking about like the frequency response of different pickups and how if you've got a really flat pickup, you can just use an EQ to kind of simulate some of the response.
Right.
So, yeah, like a Strat single coil or a PAF style humbucker have a very, very different kind of frequency response. And then something like an EMG is like really, really flat, which is sometimes why people like that, because they're like, oh, it's so much brighter and there's more output. But, you plug it into an amp and you immediately begin filtering stuff out. So, so there's that aspect to it as well. But anyway, to come back around, the Duncan thing, it seems to be the acceptable stock choice. They're the boss of pickups, right?
Yeah, and I think I'm a Boss type of a man too. I like a Boss guitar pedal. I like a Marshall amp.
You like a Boss Man coffee?
I like an Ernie Ball set of strings and a Diodario set of strings. And everything's good, like there's don't mean to disrespect anybody that makes pickups or anything like that. I just think like for the way that I like to set my gear, I want to just take maybe the pickup side of it out of the equation a little bit. Just give me something that's reasonably that is acceptably going to be good and work in a lot of different applications, and then I can manipulate from there. And obviously that's different if you're doing really tight metal stuff and you need that output, or you need active pickups or something like that. Maybe that's a different story. But for just doing the stuff that I do, something that's reasonably accepted. So anyway,
if you're doing like a roots thing or a blues thing, then P90s maybe instead of humbuckers are going to be more the vibe. There's definitely it's probably going to be largely specific to the sort of genre space you're in. Like this guitar, the 8515s, I wouldn't do a blues gig with them, or like anything lower gain, because they just they've got a little bit more of that kind of like cocked wah thing that higher output pickups have. But as soon as I run it through some gain, it's the greatest thing ever.
But you probably also just pick a different guitar for that too. It's like not specifically the pickups. It's like the instrument as a whole.
System.
Yeah, the system of it is important to consider. I mean, so to bring it back around to this Explorer, I think that's something I want the system to work in the situations intended. And I feel I'm not quite sure what pickups are in there. It's like until I take them out and look at them, I won't be able to know. And I'm waiting for this this custom to arrive because I didn't just want to put oh Jesus, throwing my stuff around over here. I didn't want to just put the one thing in and restring it again. So hopefully that arrives today, and I'll be able to pop the thing in for tomorrow for a game on Friday night.
Yeah, great.
But I've got a custom and 59 in my set in my SE, my PRS SE.
Yep.
And I love the way the custom sounds, and don't really care for the 59 that much. And
Troy, you might have to jazz.
Well, this is the thing, man. The reason I don't like it, it's a bit too tubby and big in the bottom end, and that's nice for certain things, but mostly I just want to have a bit more clarity, and I don't really get the same sort of I don't know. It's slow. There's probably another way of saying it. I'm not sure because it's got so much more bottom than what I'm expecting. Because for me, when if I'm playing rock stuff, I'm on a bridge. Bridge humbucker is my favorite position. If I'm playing anything with less gain, cleaner, it's usually the neck position, but with a single coil, either telly or it's Strat or position 2 there on a Strat with the middle and neck. So yeah, I'm used to that sound, and one of my tellies when I go to the neck, it is a lot beefier sounding. My Jason Isbell telly has a lot more balance between the two pickups, which I really like. Doesn't tub up too much, and I didn't realize with the Jazz, and this is just me not looking at the specs of it and just reading the name, because to me, what Jazz implies is maybe something that's very low output and maybe has a lot more bottom end and stuff in it.
Yeah,
but I think with output, it's medium output, right? It's not low output. But it's also
the sound of the Jazz to me is it just does sound a bit clearer and cleaner.
Yeah, but it doesn't have
impression of it.
It's not an overly emphasized bottom end, right? It's it's pretty.
No.
If anything, it not rolls off. But I think I saw one graph that seemed like it had a bit less. It's well, that's exactly what I've been looking for in a fucking like neck position of a Les Paul for years. You know, I think that's probably just the type of thing I need. So
that's probably why it's designed. The other thing as well, I've mentioned frequency response of the pickups a little bit, but you were just talking about like, you know, the pickups being slow, so the transient response at like first 30 to 50 milliseconds. That's something I don't see talked about a lot, but it's really important. Like, in fact, I was just doing a quick little Google. So there is a paper here from Transactions on Magnetics, and it says the simple RLC circuit models of guitar pickups do not account for audible features that characterize the pickup. Psychoacoustic experiments reveal that any acoustically accurate model has to reproduce the first 30 milliseconds of the transient response with extreme precision. Right. So that might, if that's an important thing in the model, maybe that's a really important thing with, if you think about the aspects of like wire gauge, the winding pattern, the magnet, and the design of the pickup. People can harp on about frequency response all day, but if there's a dynamic element to it and the transient response is different, that's going to be super important. Again, like you said earlier, if you're playing like tight metal stuff, then maybe that's why like a PAF ain't the best choice in there. You need maybe you want a faster transient in there to help with the pick attack. And that's something that never floated into my conscience before, but that's probably a massive element. It's probably something that people aren't really discussing that much.
Maybe it doesn't exist and I'm full of shit. That's also a possibility.
Yeah, maybe we're just full of shit as well. Maybe all that matters is a frequency response. Because I was going to ask you, like, have you tried lowering the pickup heights before changing the pickups?
Nah, I just wanted to spend some money.
Yeah, okay, that's a totally good justification. No, and I know everybody listening to this feels that.
No, it's the pickup height isn't too. It's pretty moderate at the moment. It's not like too high or too low, so it's pretty much what I'd expect. I should have tried that, but yeah, I think just the general tone of it too is a little darker than what I wanted. So yeah, I don't know, just it kind of wasn't really cutting the mustard. I mean, the other thing about it that I didn't try is. I think I went on about it a little while ago, how I changed the pots in my Les Paul. And like putting 500K pots in there made a significant difference over the 300s that were there. So I don't know what pots are in this guitar. Maybe if I change the pickups and still don't like it, maybe that's worth a try.
Again, the whole system of electronics in there is important. Changing pots is definitely a big thing. I've done that on my McCarty had a 1 mega ohm pot for a while.
That's right.
And that was kind of cool. It was a little bit brighter, and I went back to a 500.
Yeah.
Because 500 is stock, and did I go 500 or 250? I can't remember. But, you know, people will harp on about, the 59 bursts, like they had 340K ohm pots, and the good ones did anyway, but there would have been so much variation there.
Yeah. I think like I'm feel lucky because I have enough skill to be able to do this stuff myself, and I have enough money.
It's not difficult.
Yeah, and I have enough money to where it's like if I'm going to change pots, it's going to cost me like $20 to $50 to do that. Like, well, that's okay. I'm sure I can cover that. And $100, like this was $100. The other pickup was about $100 too. Like, there's not a huge.
Do you also pick up grays? Like if you see one for a good price that you don't necessarily want, you're like, hey, $60 for a Seymour Duncan pickup. I may as well just grab it.
You know what? I used to do that and I've stopped. And the reason is that I benefited a lot from that when I was like in my early 20s, just like grabbing cheap stuff, and I really wanted to try stuff. And then you end up hoarding stuff that you never use, and there's probably other 20-year-olds out there that really want to hear this stuff. So I've tried to be a bit more like balanced, and you know that's not with everything, but with certain things. Like if I see a good deal and I'm like, people give stuff away for free sometimes. I'm like, I don't need another free bass. Like, what's this going to do for me? It'll sit in the corner and never get used.
Yeah.
Like I've had that with like when I used to try and do more art projects with the guitars, like decoupage something or put rhinestones on it, I was a little bit more interested. But these days I don't really care so much. So yeah, let other people have it, man. Like I'm more interested in the stuff that I want to try out. And there's like these cabs, probably like the speakers will stay because I think I'll find purposes for the speakers, but the cabinets themselves I may not need. So I might just flip the cabinets themselves for like $20 or something like that.
Yeah.
Because someone will have use for that. Because I got really pissed off at a guy that, and I shouldn't, because like I've done sort of this before, like a long time ago, But I sold an unloaded 1x12 cab for $50. Because again, I bought the cab and with a speaker in it. I wanted the speaker. I didn't want the cabinet. I paid like $200 for the thing. Took the speaker out, sell the cab $50. It's like, it's not really exploiting anybody or anything. Just like have the thing I want. And then I sold the same guy some speakers that I bought like 2 Fender speakers or like Jensen speakers at a Fender for like $50. I'm like, well, this guy was generous enough to give me these speakers really cheap. I'm not using them. I'll sell them $50. So anyway, same guy bought both these things. And then all of a sudden, like the next day, he's put like a 1x12 up for sale for $300. I'm like, come on, man. Like a day later, like you're not... Yeah, look, everyone flips stuff, and I shouldn't be too shitty about it. Like it's okay.
But have some tact,
just
bro.
Give it at least a week. Try it out first, so like if it sounds any good. Just don't be that guy like flipping stuff. So anyway, that was a bit of a bummer. But again, I'm probably overreacting to nothing to be completely.
It's like that rectifier recording preamp that came up for like $800 or $900. Then the next day it was on Gumtree for $1,400 or $1,500.
Yeah,
it's like I see what you did there, and good on you. But also, we all know.
Yeah. Well, look, I feel reasonably confident at the moment. The stuff that I have, even though there's a lot of it, I use most of it. I use a lot of it.
Yeah.
And the things that I don't use don't have great value to someone. So I don't feel bad about like, because we were talking about that Joe Bonamassa thing that came out the other day.
Yep.
And like, great, Joe, that you've got all this stuff. But for me, I kind of feel like instruments and amps and whatever, they should be used to make music, not just to be like kept on a shelf. And like, he obviously does play a lot of them, but there's not enough hours in your entire life to get the benefit of having that much stuff. Like when you got 3 of the same guitar, it's like, come on, man, just like someone can make music with that thing, and they probably should make music with that thing and not just like have it for the sake of it.
Well, there's a section where he was saying how, every day he checks his DMs on Instagram, which is a brave thing when you've got that much of a public profile. But he said there's always people sending photos of guitars like, oh, hey, I've got this thing, here's the story. Do you want to talk about you buying it? And he's like, yeah, a lot of the time I will. But also, he's like, because I've got so much stuff, people will want to sell me, a 50s Gibson or something like that. And he's like, yeah, it'll be okay condition, and it's not necessarily the spec anyone wants, but I've already got like the desirable ones. So, I kind of just haggle, and it's like, no, I don't want to pay 30 grand for that. It's not worth that to me.
Yeah.
I'll give you this much, but you can probably turn around and sell it through a dealer for 45. So, let's not waste each other's time.
Yeah.
It was interesting hearing him talk about what everything cost, because, and like, good on him as well, because I think people kind of, it's good information to have out there. He's not a dealer. He's basically a private collector, but he also then plays a lot of the stuff, like he was touring with a 59 Burst for a long time and probably still does. So, good on you, as you said. They're instruments, they should be played, and there is a historical element. But there is always, the thing for me is, the mythologizing of stuff where, Americans are really interested in these American-made things from the 50s, because that's when America was the most America has ever been. Like it is that, there's that level of like, and fair enough, like, the Bursts are really important guitars. No one really cared at the time. It wasn't until a bunch of British kids in the 60s were playing them. So that's kind of the irony there. And the craftsmanship is great. And, I get it. I do get it. But there's a lot of other things that have happened in the world of musical instruments since then, and that continue to happen. But it's just such a, it's a very aesthetic thing that they're into. And, he's got the first black Strat ever made. And, they're sort of talking about how it's like 9.5, 10 pounds and, layers of different paint, and that it's, maybe not the best Strat ever, unlike some of the other ones. So, it's, I enjoyed it. And as well, a lot of the stuff you see with Joe, he kind of comes off as not naive, but very boyish. And he was definitely not boyish in this. He was just like having a hang, just being a fucking dude.
Yep. Hanging with the boys.
he was hanging with the boys, you know. That was it was sort of humanizing, especially when you're just used to Music Radar has the headline that Joe Bonamassa says pedals are stupid. He's very good. He's very good at stoking up social media. I'm sure he finds it hilarious as well.
Yep. Look, to be fair, he's a guy that would love The Simpsons. And so we'd have a fat hang with him. Like, do you know what would be sick? Is like Joe Bonamassa comes to Perth, we hang out with him and don't talk about anything music related. Like,
I mean, when do you ever want to talk about music related with anyone, really?
Like, there's, like, you and I, when we do see each other in person, is like, you know, mostly because my kids are running around, but we do like probably 20 minutes of talking about guitar gear among like just talking about footy and talking about barbecue and all the other stuff. Like, yeah, it's sick.
The 3 of the 5 hobbies that you're allowed to have as a man in your 30s.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. So
slight tangent, and well, not really, because we're talking about pickups. I got some pickups given to me by a friend of the podcast, Warren Mendoza, because I hung out with Warren in New Zealand, which was rad. And he cooked me one of the best curries I've ever had in my life. And now I'm addicted to roti bread as well. So thanks, Warren.
Great.
And just the frozen ones you get from the shop, bro. It's so good. His tip was rice bran oil on them as well, which adds quite a delicious flavor to them. But
there's a little tidbit for you, is it? A little tidbit?
Little tidbit. A Rick Boogs tidbit to improve your posture towards life. So Mr. Glynn's pickups in New Zealand, he gave me some of those. I'm yet to put them in a guitar. I'm pretty excited to try them.
What are they? Like singles or humbuckers?
Humbuckers, covered humbuckers, yeah. So I'm not sure what Warren just had them made and was like, yeah, hey, you should have these, which was incredibly generous. He also gave me a Maxon SD9.
Legend.
Which he was showing me how to use the SD9 for the Landau thing. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, yeah, man, this really makes me want to buy one. He's like, oh, I've got 3, just take it. It probably needs a little bit of TLC. So I've been playing with that a bit. It's very good. Nevertheless, I went and hung out with Glenn in sort of I think it's the Northwest Beach. It's called Muriwai Beach, Volcanic Beach. Amazing. Came and picked me up. Elspeth and I went out there, had like a fat hang. Didn't really talk that much about music or anything, but just hung out in the workshop a little bit. And man, he had some awesome stuff, like an Epiphone V that he'd put some of his own pickups in. That was, and he'd stripped down. That was awesome. He had a few PRS SEs that he'd like taken all the paint off and put a few pickups in. He had the whole pickup winding set in there and a 3D printer. And he's got a young daughter who's got a workbench down there. So, you know, he lets her get in there and like, you know, toys that have little motors or things in them, like pull them out and modify them.
That's cool.
Really cool.
We should buy, let's buy a 3D printer. You want to buy a 3D printer? I know I've asked you that before.
Elspeth has been talking about getting one, so I feel like I should just get one and do fun things with it.
We'll do it. We'll get one for the podcast.
Yeah.
For the Christmas party.
3D print hot dogs.
Yeah. I watched that slight, I'll keep it mostly on track, but was it Sama 66 or 66 Samus? Is that the dude?
Yep.
He's got that Lego snare that someone sent him.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. It sounds, it's not terrible. It sounds fine. It sounds like a snare drum mostly. So that was cool. So yeah, we'll 3D print some guitars.
Some snares, some hot dogs.
Yeah,
it'll be all part of the fun.
So yeah, I mean, back on topic of the pickups. So, sorry, what I cut you off. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, we had a great hang. It was really, really nice. I'll put some video up when he's sending me some pickups to try. He was sort of like, well, what do you like? You know, because he was like, I wound those pickups for Warren. He kind of digs it. He's like, what's more your vibe? So I'm pretty keen to try out his sort of like, you know, rockier brown sound style pickups.
What did you tell him?
And
like when he asked, like what would you?
Basically nothing. I was like, you know what I like to do, right? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, what should I get? So I'll pull up the website and describe. But anyway, we have to get him on the pod because super interesting dude. Mm-hmm. And he said the best thing as well, because I was like, oh, do you know this person? He's like, yeah, I know him. He's a great dude. Do you know this person? Yeah, I know him. He's a great dude. Like, basically, he's like, New Zealand's so small that everyone ends up working with one another or knowing one another. Mm-hmm. So you can't be a dickhead. Like, you literally can't afford to do it. You've got to be like a good dude. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was pretty interesting. He had a pretty interesting story about doing something for Neil Finn as well, and was like, yeah, legend. So I'm pretty sure so he does Filtertrons, he does mini humbuckers, he's got humbucker size P90s, sort of humbuckers that are voiced like single coils. He does a signature pickup for the guitar player from Alien Weaponry, which is cool as well. I really like that band. They're like a Doom style humbucker. There's the Attitude. I think it might have been the Cloud 9, which is just this sort of like all-round rock and metal pickup. So, and then he does the Integrity, which is more the PAF, like, Alnico 2 magnet sort of thing. That's the other thing with pickups, right? The type of magnets and degaussing them and using different... It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing
we should get...
Yeah. I just don't... Yeah, I haven't gone down the rabbit hole of that. It's just... I think I came to the conclusion of like, if I do this, it will take too much time to get nerdy about, and I don't want to spend that time doing that, burning more of my guitars to a cinder. So I'll just get a Jazz... Well, we'll see. Jazz custom set, and we'll see if that's the ticket for me.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm going to try these. I got to figure out what guitar to put these pickups in as well. I've had a few ideas.
Les Paul? What's in the Les Paul at the moment?
I've got some Martin A. Smiths.
Oh, that's right.
PAF style pickups, which are awesome. I don't think I want to change those. But so Martin's another guy we should definitely get on because he knows a lot about the pickups.
What about the green PRS?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, actually. That's got the Jazz JB.
Oh, well, yeah.
Well, I love the Jazz. The JB's, it's a bit middle of the road.
I love the JB in the Charvel. Like, it is, for me, for the rock stuff, it is actually a perfect pickup. It's like super hot, obviously, and all that sort of stuff. And it has a sound to it, but I thought about that for the Explorer because there was one available like locally, but I think the customs may be a little bit less, it sounds less like a JB. Just, I don't know, it's maybe a little bit more neutral. But we'll see. I might be full of shit with that. It sounds so good in the other, in that SE guitar. I had that moment when I put it in where I'm like, this is the sound that I've wanted the whole time in a guitar like this. And I'm hoping with the Jazz, like, man, I don't know why it's taken so long to try it. Like, I thought the 59 would be great, and it's fine. It's just not my sort of job, But it might be that I put this like a Jazz custom in, and then I'm just like, great, that can just be the thing that I like. I never split pickups as well. I won't do it on this Explorer because I don't really think it's that necessary to do. But I've been thinking about that with some guitars too, just to try it out. I just kind of prefer a single coil guitar. Like I don't need it.
Honestly, having the split just for the neck humbucker on a PRS it's something I use a lot. Like a lot. It's pretty awesome.
See, I reckon I'd do that if I was playing a guitar like that for more gigs. Like mostly if I'm doing if I'm doing a gig, recently it's my Telly, so it's a single, or it's my Charvel, which is hum single. So I kind of have that position covered. I reckon if I was playing like a Super Strat with two humbuckers, I'd definitely do it. It feels weird. Like, I know it's not. It's mental. But it feels weird to me to split like coils on like a Les Paul. Like, I'm sure it's fine. Like, do it. You should do it. Everyone should do it.
Yeah, exactly.
It just feels like strange. It feels like it's I don't know. I don't know why.
So the DGT, the way they split the pickups, I believe they use a resistor to do it.
Okay.
Rather than a classic coil tap where you, again, coil tap, coil split. I know there's people get pedantic about the names, but obviously a humbucker has two single coil pickups wired in series out of phase. Most of the time, you just remove one of those coils, and you've got like that's your tapped or split, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, the DGT, it's got, I'm just trying to remember how they do it.
So they insert a resistor in there to stop the pick. I don't know.
Yeah. Let's see. What do they actually do? How to do the PRS DGT resistor type mod. So, 1 second. I'm just reading up on this. Yeah, because the split sounds in that sound amazing. They sound really, really fat, not too like spiky or jangly. So you replace the wire from, so you have a switch, you've got resistors, use a 2.2 kilo ohm resistor on the bridge pickup and 1.1 kilo ohm resistor on the neck pickup. Split coils on a humbucker, you basically short one of the coils to ground. That means on a 4-wire humbucker, the 2 wires that are taped together get switched to ground. The DGT mod is called a partial coil split because you put a resistor between those pickup wires and the ground.
Okay.
There you go. So you're not taking out you're not sending everything to ground.
Yeah. Right.
So that's a really clever mod, actually. And yeah, it sounds phenomenal. Like the DGT has, in my opinion, like the best split humbucker sounds of any guitar that I've got. And because, yeah, they're not, again, it's going from the full humbucker sound to the kind of wide open split sound. Often the humbucker can sound, you set it up for it to sound good with the split and the humbucker sounds too dark.
Yep.
Or you set it to sound good with the humbucker and the split's too bright. So,
I mean,
yeah,
that's
whatever they're
problem,
doing with the
man.
DGT sounds great.
It's just like, yeah, balance. I think balance is really important.
Yeah.
Like you want to go from like, if you've got a pickup switch, right, you should want to go from like 2 tones, like obviously, but they should be related to each other, not like other ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, exactly.
Like when it's, and that's just an issue, like I said, with a bridge pickup neck pickup in a Les Paul. I know like there's I think Jason Isbell mentioned it. He's like, yeah, set the, and common knowledge, like set your tone up for the neck pickup, like do that, and then you'll go to the bridge pickup and you'll have a bit more spike and stuff.
Yeah.
But I live on the bridge pickup more, so like I'm always setting the sound for that and then swapping to the neck and it just sounds boomy and shit. But like I'm hoping with the Jazz, if it's just like just reducing a bit of that bottom and that woofiness, maybe that'll just be the ticket for me from what I like. But we'll find out, man. Like I'll know tomorrow in theory.
Exactly.
Whenever.
And we'll catch up for the next pod and we'll see if we're full of shit or not.
Absolutely, mate. That's well, I know I'm full of shit. It's just a fact
Aren't
of
we
life,
all,
mate.
Troy? Aren't we all? Look, mate, I feel like we should wrap it there. All I will say is, and this will annoy you a lot, playing Warren's Eric Johnson Strat, it's such a good Strat. Like at the I need to get one in my life at some point kind of thing. So I didn't know they were that good.
You are becoming such a guitar nerd again. Like guitar.
I'm becoming the Joe Bonamassa of 80s rock cosplay, aren't I?
Oh, mate, absolutely. We lost another brother in that regard. As I told you, I caught up with our good friend Mike earlier today.
Yeah.
One of the OG of us people that are currently in our mid-30s and like long-haired men. But the man, he's cut that hair of his. So just another soldier has fallen. Pour a little out.
Yep. Pour one out for the homies. Look, I think the cutting that's particularly poignant, isn't it? Because I feel like if you're going to abandon the long hair, Chrome Dome.
You just
go full Lex Luthor.
Yeah, fair enough. You do trim yours? I can't remember.
My hair?
Yeah.
Yeah, but not anywhere near often enough. It's due for a trim.
Me too. It's been 3 years since I've had a trim.
Yeah.
I do it every
Probably
3 to
should
4
do
years.
it. Yeah. Needs a bit of a trim. Elspeth's a little bit more like on it with her hair, and hers is like it's gotten so long and thick and amazing. So maybe she's onto something, mate. Maybe she's onto something.
It's just the thing, man. Like when you grow up as a boy with short hair, and everyone else around you, not everyone else, like girls grow up and they have long hair and they know how to take care of it. Like you just miss it. It's like, like when maybe a little girl that's played with Barbies her whole life gets to 18 and decides that they just want to like listen to Dokken. It's just like, well, you have or Van Halen or something like that. Like you've got a lot of things you got to catch up on. It's just like nothing assumed there. So music is for everybody, and long hair is for everybody as well. But I would have loved when I started growing my hair long to know that you should brush it.
Yeah.
Because I was like 19 before I owned a hairbrush.
This is all it is.
Yeah, assumed knowledge. So, yeah, anyway. And it needs to have a trim. So I'll trim it soon. I might get Jade to do it.
There you go.
She's done it a few times. She's given me the best haircuts. Last time I got it cut, I got a trim. It looked like shit. So, not by her, by someone else. So I was a bit sort of a bit scared to go back to somewhere. Anyway, mate, should we just bloody wrap him up? Are you happy?
Let's wrap him up, Troy. Everybody listening, thank you for your time. Let us know your thoughts on guitar pickups. Let us know any topics you'd like us to see in the future. And hopefully we'll be coming at you with some more special guests very soon. Peace.